Welcome back, everyone. New School Sensei. I'm your host, Lance Douglas. We've got Ken Douglas here as well. And we also have Matt Tonkin. So, one of the OGs in Australian Jiu Jitsu. Um, and good fact, I actually didn't realize how OG you were, Tonks. You were around like back in the Zendokai days. I had a look at your bio. So, that's very interesting.
You're calling me old. It's terrible.
Out of respect, out of respect.
Yeah, it's in the
So,
dictionary. My photo's there, OG. It's there. It's in the dictionary.
oh, gee, because I'm used to, you're bashing us in jiu-jitsu, doing some weird stuff to us, and then you got all those OG tricks. So I like it.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate it. And thanks for having me on your show.
Pleasure, pleasure. So yeah, today's show's a bit different. We're going to be going through, we've got a couple of viewer questions, Q&A.
Oh,
And when I say
perfect.
viewer, I mean AI.
Oh, yeah, close enough. Yeah.
So let's see what AI's got for us today. And I thought it'd be good to get you on as well because you've got such a huge wealth of knowledge. You've got obviously Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, third Dan under Ninos. Not many people know Japanese Jiu-Jitsu.
Yeah.
So to be honest, I don't look very favorably on Japanese Jiu-Jitsu, but you can definitely prove me wrong there. Can you give us a little spiel, just Japanese Jiu-Jitsu? How does that all fit in? Because from my experience, like we had a guy come in just a couple of weeks ago. He was a brown belt. He said he's a brown belt in Jiu-Jitsu. And then when I rolled him, I'm like, "Are you sure, bro?" He said, "Yeah, Japanese jiu-jitsu." So yeah,
Yeah.
just maybe Tonks, give us a bit of a spiel about Japanese jiu-jitsu. Let us know how cool it is.
Well, that's where I started. Like I started years ago. Like when I was very young, I did a lot of other sort of martial arts, but then took some time off, and then my best mate got me involved in Japanese jiu-jitsu. And I didn't know what it was either. I thought, what is it? You know what I mean? So I went and had a couple of sessions, and I went, wow, it's a totally different outlook on martial arts, because everything when you talk martial arts, people think kick, punch, elbow, knee, headbutt. This thing had locks, throws, it had weaponry, it had grappling. Like this is before Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu actually like got popular and all that sort of stuff. And I was a security guard, so I thought to myself, this is great because all I knew how to do was kick and punch. So when you have to throw somebody out, you can't like walk up to your mother and go cop an elbow and throw her out the day, out the club and that. So all the locking systems came. It was really good. Like probably it's a bad thing to say, but Steven Seagal is part of what we do. Like the Aikido is all the locking systems and all that sort of stuff. And then you've got, you know, it had the Okinawan and karate in it as well, which where I started with the base of the karate, and it also has a lot of judo throwing and all that sort of stuff. And then, of course, back in the early '90s, we did a lot of thing called randori, which was grappling. And then we started seeing these Gracies do it, and we had to jump on board. You know what I mean? And I just kept doing it. I love it. I think Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu just completes the parts of the martial art that you miss. With every martial art, everything needs to be a mix of something these days. Yeah. So that was '93 when I got introduced to that, and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu in '95, and here we are. We're still going.
Wow. So I guess back in the day, Japanese jiu-jitsu had a bit more like free rolling. Is that what you're saying?
In the sense of grappling or the style itself.
Just yeah, more or grappling sense.
Yeah, grappling sense, it was pretty much the way we did randori was it was either like standing judo, so like we sort of had to sort of keep like when we were testing ourselves, it was sort of went to like a judo comp, so we had our judo grips and you'd throw to the floor, and then when we got to the ground, we went back to back. And then, you know what I mean? And then the coach would go, fight. You know what I mean? You turn around and you'd be on your knees and you just try and get to some sort of,
I might try it
couple.
with the kids. That sounds pretty funny.
Yeah, I've got a couple of little kids drills for that. It's really funny, you know what I mean? And you go back to back, and then it was, you pretty much went kasakatami, and that was it, headlock and hung on for grim life, and the other person would tap, and then we started learning other locks like, shoulder locks and leg locks. And then when we started mucking around with the Gracies, it was like, oh, wow, you can really fold them up like a pretzel and still do all that sort of stuff. So I jumped on it straight away. I thought we need to learn it. I put it into my system nearly straight away, got rid of our old school sort of grappling. We still use it, but definitely went to more the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. You know what I mean? Yeah.
There you go. Because Ken and I, we did a bit of Japanese jiu-jitsu.
Oh, did you? Oh,
Yeah, we
interesting.
trained under Steve Wilson.
Oh, yeah, Steve Wilson, yeah. That's a very
Yeah,
old name.
Ken loved it. Ken loved training there.
Should have stayed, mate. Should have stayed.
To be honest, it was very painful. Like,
Yeah, it
for some
is.
reason, those guys don't respect the tap. You'd be tapping for 30 seconds.
Well, there's no tap in the real world, you know that. Yeah, but we did find that out. Like, there's no testing ground for Japanese jiu-jitsu, and like when I train my kids and my adults, I always say to them like, the dojo is where you train for it. Your gradings is your testing, like your competition, and then it relates to like into the street. You know what I mean? So there's no like competition. Oh, there's a thing over in the Europe called a duo system where they just do a technique at 100%. You know what I mean? And they score it out of 10 on how dynamic it is, aerial, pain compliant, all the pain and all that. But yeah, it's not really practical. There's no like, there's no resistance. The person's actually, it's more like a Hollywood a stunt move. You know what I mean? So I always say, like I did security, and I've got a lot of police officers that train with me, and we changed it from a traditional style into more of a freestyle style. So it wasn't so much traditional striking; it was more hooks and wild punching, and we sort of turned our style more of that. The kids, we keep it still very like jab, cross, hook, but but then as you know in the street, it doesn't stop with one punch; it just keeps going.
So you
Yeah.
run both Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and Japanese Jiu-Jitsu alongside each other?
Yeah, and MMA, and I've got Lorenzo there. We've got karate, kickboxing, boxing, and MMA as well. So yeah, so we've got a pretty wide range at the gym. Yeah,
Lorenzo does that
Wow, that's
old school
awesome.
style, yeah? Old school style of karate.
yeah, where they get like telephone poles and they smack it over him, and because he's so big, they just shatter over him. You know what I
Ken
mean?
sent me
So
that video. It
yeah,
wasn't even a 2x4. It was like a 2x8 or something get whacked across his
I
gut and it didn't break.
I thought it was a I know. I think it broke him a little bit, but don't tell him that.
Is he still kicking through baseball bats?
I've never done that. I mean, like we've done board breaking and tile breaking. And I saw a guy break. I can't remember who it was. Yeah, I saw him breaking baseball bats, and I was hitting the shin with a baseball bat once. I thought, hang on, they didn't break on my leg. How am I supposed to break the bat? You know what I mean? So, but you see these guys do it all the time. Like you see even the BJJ guys now breaking them with their arms like leg locks, and I'm like, you can have that. You know what I mean? That's scary stuff, isn't it?
You must have some good insurance on that.
Yeah, I like the motto that my mate always said: if the punch is coming, be where it's not there. Be where it ain't. You know what I mean? If the punch is coming, just don't be there. Don't block it. You don't know what you're hitting. Yeah, so no, it's all good.
That's it. Let's get into the questions.
Oh, yep, cool.
So first question from AI. Which AI did you get it from, Ken?
I got it from Meta AI. So Zuckerberg. So he's pretty pro martial arts. So yeah.
Okay, let's go,
This could be
Zuckerberg.
this could be interesting.
So first question is on class planning. So how do you
Yeah,
keep your classes fresh and exciting? Do you have any tips for balancing technique work, drilling, and sparring?
yeah, we do. So
Boom.
so with our guys, we have a syllabus like in the Japanese, we have a syllabus. Actually, every style we have a base syllabus, and we have to keep the kids motivated. We have a stamp system. So the kids have got to be able to complete a technique. So we teach them a series of techniques over X amount of time. They get a stamp system, and once the stamp is given to a student, when he can do the technique without being prompted by whether myself or another assistant instructor, and it could be as simple as a striking technique where they've just got to have a movement, a counter technique with a follow up strike and an exit strategy, and once they get that stamp, they move on to the next technique. Even though they're learning the whole technique of the belt they're going for, and that sort of stuff. So I found with that, it gives a kid a bit of a reward every week, like getting a stripe on your belt in BJJ, but it also gives them, hey, look, I've got 3 stripes, you've got 2 stripes. So a little bit of competition between the kids within the class. And also, we don't give them the next grading in their book. So when they get their certificate, so they pass their white to their grey, they get their next grading syllabus in with their certificate for their like Japanese or Brazilian. So then they get it like, oh wow, this is what I got to learn for my next grading. You know what I mean? And then, of course, we play games like to keep it fresh with the. We play old school games like Pac Man. I play a game called Dumb, where I walk into the gym with my belt undone and my gi hung out, and I'm scratching my head, going, "Oh, where are we?" And we teach them like Japanese etiquette without actually grading them on them. So instead of them learning Japanese, we're like, "What's a dojo? Oh, so what's the gym called? Yeah, what's your uniform called? What are the mats called? What's this technique called? If they get it wrong, and the kids all laugh, we punish them with the technique that they didn't do. You know what I mean, and things like that. Because they all call me Tonks, and I go, "That's not my name." You know what I mean? Because we teach the 3 styles there. Like I'm Shihan in Jiu-Jitsu, I'm professor in BJJ, I'm coach in kickboxing. So the kids get a little bit confused there. So some of our younger kids will come into BJJ and start doing their karate. It's really funny, and then And then in the karate, they'll double leg a guy and take him down. I'm like, hang on, we're doing karate now, or we're doing kickboxing. It's quite funny. At the Lorenzo, and I have a good laugh watching him do that. But games, we like the games. The games at the end, we like reward the kids, train hard, learn some techniques, and then we finish off with games at the end. We do like dodgeball. We do Pac-Man where we have all the rings and they've got to run around like the old Pac-Man game. And a guy will have a cone, they've got to try and trap them. So they learn exit strategies on how to get out of a place. Like they've got to make it from one end of the match to the other with two guys trying to chase them. Dodgeball, we get a big medicine fit ball, and I think we get a bit more fun out of it because we kick the ball at the kids and knock them off their feet. So practice your break falls, you know what I mean, and things like that. The $5 challenge is good. Like I'd ask a parent if they got $5, take their $5 and hold it in front. The kids have got to grab it, like they're doing a punt. And it just happens that every time the kid that's parent gives me the money, I don't get it back fast enough, and the kid always strips the money. So I lost the $5.
That's
So things like that,
interesting.
just keep it fresh, a bit of fun, and
Bringing
things
the
like
old
that.
school
Yeah,
money onto the mats.
I have to
A lot
bring
of kids
money in.
probably never seen $5, yeah, Lance?
No, I had a parent ask me, "Do we have tap and go?" I'm like, and I said, "Oh, give me your phone. We'll see how we go." Yeah, but
No way. No,
that's
I
not a
like
bit.
it.
Yeah, a bit of fun with the games, what I mean. Yeah. In
And it's good
Brazilian
to.
Jiu-Jitsu, we do a lot of things like I was saying, I think to you guys last time. We don't. We play a game called Last Man Standing. Put them in a ring, and everyone's got to like sumo, push each other out. And if you touch the black mat, like you're on the grey mat, if you step out to the black mat, you're out. You can throw them, but if you both go out, you're both out. Same with our techniques. I was telling you guys we do top to bottom, bottom out. So you come in off the wall, do the technique, win or lose, you go to the bottom, you got to go at the bottom, then you go out. And then we'll do like last man standing, king of the cage. We've all done that where, put the hierarchy in and get the low rank to try and beat them out and see if the lower ranks can beat the higher ranks by the end of the day. And the instructors are good. They'll go in there and they'll flip a kid over what's losing, you know what I mean? And you'll have a good guy on the top and he's about to pass and we'll rip him back and throw another guy on top and, oh, you lost. And little things like that. Geese are good for that, geese and belts, because you can pick the kids up and run around the gym with them. And it's good fun, yeah. So that's sort of how we sort of do our stuff at our gym. Yeah.
That's pretty cool. And I can see, Tonks, you're having fun as well when you're doing it. So that's probably the more important thing. If
I
the
got to
coach
get
is
my
having fun,
got
kids
to
are
get
gonna
my
have fun too.
got to get my training in. You know what I mean? Yeah, it's always good to beat up on a 5-year-old. You know what I mean? I've seen you guys. I've seen you guys do it as well.
So Ken, well, what things are you doing in your classes?
Yeah, so I think probably for me to keep the classes fresh and exciting, I think you as a coach, you need to be training as well. And I think there was probably back in the day, there was a bit of a trend in the martial arts space where people wanted to teach the same class like every single day. And they were saying your kids love to watch the same movie every single day, all that sort of stuff. But I think these days you can't do that. You can't just have the same lesson plan on repeat for the entire week. And then you got 10 weeks in a term, you can't have the same lesson plan. So I think as a coach, you got to be training, but you also got to be learning about teaching too. And I think if you do those two things, your classes will change. Like the classes we used to run 3 years ago are now completely different to how we run them now. And I reckon the classes we're going to run next year are going to be completely different. Things always evolve. And I think Lance is a really big. I guess Lance is like our secret weapon at Twins, especially when it comes to class planning. Isn't that right, Lance?
Well, thanks, mate. I'll take that secret weapon.
The secret sensei, we'll call him.
How
Yeah,
about
I'm on
you,
the
Lance?
front
Because
desk.
you're pretty much in charge of all the lesson plans at Twins. So
Yeah, because
yeah,
yeah, with my background, because yeah, I got the physio background, I've got the teaching background as well. I'm in a good position where I can tinker with the lesson plans, and because we've got a lot of students, I can do like little experiments to see how it works.
Mm.
So yeah, I think it's a lot of the same lines, both what you said, Tonks, Ken, you've said, changing things up, different games. We've actually been going back to some old school games. Things like, Ken, do you remember that game where you form a circle, you hold hands, and you have one person out, and they got to run around and tag someone?
yeah,
Like
Or
duck
like
goose, whatever it was.
Duck Duck Goose, you got that as well.
Yeah.
Old school game. British Bulldog. So, this old school game. I remember one of my good friends, William Lobasanos. He did British Bulldogs but with takedowns.
Yep.
So to get the player out, You got to tackle them and you got to take them down. So there's a lot of I guess everything comes around full circle, to be honest. Like you play one game and then you might forget it for a couple of years. You've probably seen that, Tonks, yeah? Like have
Yeah.
you played a game and haven't done it for 10 years but then gone back to it?
We did tails the other day where we got belts like this long and stuck them in the back of your belt, and you got to get around and take the belt off everybody. And at the end, who's got the most? We haven't done that for years, and probably before COVID, And we did that the other day because everyone says, "What's his bag of belts? Bring it out." Bit of fun.
Have you ever tried the sock game?
Sock game.
Ken, do you want to explain that? This is Ken's invention.
Okay, give us a go.
Yeah, so essentially you've got a bag of socks and you give each student one sock, and of course they're black because socks get dirty. So, you just give them black socks if it's easier, and then essentially the kid has to steal someone else's sock, and then they put it
Yep.
on the other foot. And if they steal another sock, that means they have like two socks on one foot. And essentially by the end of 3-4 minutes, you see which kid's got the most socks, and that kid wins. And it's pretty much, it's almost like a leg lock defense drill. Like they can't touch your leg. You got to move
Okay.
around. And that's a really cool game, which I probably need to bring back, to be honest.
Clean socks. Yeah,
The only
clean
problem
socks.
is, you have to clean the socks. So if you get a bit lazy,
That's an
you have
issue.
See, that's the only problem with this game. You got to clean the socks every time. So yeah.
Yeah, that's fair enough. I like that. That's cool. Sock game, yeah. Because they got to put them on while they're still going, don't they?
Well, the thing is, once you steal someone's sock, we tell the kids you got to go like to the outside of the ring or court, because then it's safe. Because you can't just put your sock on right in the middle. You're a sitting duck. Like that's on you.
Yeah, sitting duck. Yeah, we used to do that with duck, duck, goose. They would run around and they'd have to get to that spot that the person touched them on, and they could intercept at any time and go into a grapple. And then the circle would just demise, and everyone would be over. Yeah, go, go, go. And then we'd hang on. Where's he got to get back to? Because all the kids would stand up and start getting around the other kids that was grappling because they're trying to get up and scramble to try and touch the ground. We did one with where you put a cross on the ground. You put your back on the ground, and you got to pull the person off and put your hand on the cross too. So like guard retention, like one kid stands, one kid doesn't, and they've got to try and get to the cross on their back on the ground. So they've got to move around their back, and then they've got to try and rip them off and then put their hand or take the position of the cross on the ground.
Oh, so the cross is on the ground on the mat.
Yeah, just put a mark on the
Okay.
ground, and the guy puts his back on it, and the other guy's got to get him off and get that position. You know what I mean? So it's like a passing drill. You know what I mean? And then you don't really have to teach. Like I've gone away from teaching I still think basics are a big thing in class. Like you have to teach kids stance, like with you guys, like with the karate and things like that. So we look at, and like not even a Brazilian jiu-jitsu thing on just how to get someone to guard, how to get someone to side control, how to get someone to the main sort of positions. And then we have we'll just tell the kids, you've got to get from behind his feet to mount. So we'll say first one to mount wins. So we don't teach them any techniques, and then we ask them a question, what happened there? I couldn't get past that. And we go, well, you try putting the leg here or lifting the leg up, and then next thing you know, they're passing without actually teaching them like a set technique. Do you know what I mean? But giving them the basics, basic idea. Yeah, we got a thing called the rolling routine, which is just bridge and roll, pass and guard, side control, mount. I learned it from the Gracies back in the early 90s. And from that, you can do it with no resistance. So you teach a kid how to buck and roll. Then he ends up in a guard. Then he's got to pass the guard, and then he's got to get from side control to mount, and with no resistance. And then as they go, you turn the resistance up 10%, up to 20%, and then the guy might put his leg down, so you'll pass over his leg, and then the guy might put his leg up, and then you pass under his leg. Then you might hop over the leg the wrong way, or you might go through the middle, or you pick both legs up and stand. You know what I mean? So the intensity of the drill just gets more and more and more. We do it with our seniors as well. Just to get them to transition between positions instead of just saying, well, here's a submission, here's escape, here's a pass, here's a sweep. Keep them transitioning and moving the whole time. And especially in winter and it gets cold, it's really good to do that because it keeps you very warm, And you can leave the kids going. And if you've got 20 kids in the room, you can leave them rolling and you can walk between each group and spend a couple of minutes with each kid. And they're still not just sitting there putting their hand up saying, I don't get how you put the arm across and then you pulled the head and then you hipped out. They don't understand that. They just keep going with what they know. Yeah, it's good. Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, with our karate guys, that's actually how we kind of run our self-defense. So we'll put them in a certain position.
Yep.
We won't show any technique. So maybe we might play pancake. So person on the bottom, on their back, person on top, chest to chest. And we'll say person on top wins if you can hold them down for 20 seconds. Person on the bottom wins if they can stand up and disengage. And
Yeah,
then
that's
you actually
perfect.
get a lot of good battles, and it's good self-defense for the kids. Even if you're
Yeah,
doing karate, doing jiu-jitsu, Wing Chun, Aikido, whatever, any martial art,
yeah.
self-defense is, getting up off the ground and disengaging.
Even against the wall, you could press them up against the wall, like like how they're up in the cage and they've got to try and get the other guy to the cage. You know
So
what I
you're
mean?
gonna
Like
say like in the lockers.
yeah, lockers. Yeah, back in the old days. Yeah, in the change
I
room.
wonder if kids still have lockers
Pigeonholes these days. I noticed. Look,
because
most
they don't
schools
have
have.
books anymore. Yeah,
Yeah, sort of, sort of. My daughter brings home a book, a reading book every now and then. Doesn't read it, but brings it home.
intentions there, I guess.
Yeah.
Hey Lance, yeah, so there's probably some coaches thinking, okay, so I'm playing heaps of games in the classes, I'm doing my own training, listening to the podcast, but still, we've got a year's worth of classes. How do I keep them fresh? Like, I've got all this stuff that I want to teach. How do you know what to teach? And if the kids get bored, so that's a question for you, Lance. How do you do it for twins?
Yeah, what we do at Twins, so we have the cycled curriculum. So we'll set the curriculum for the term. So you got 10 different lesson plans. And then like say that's term one is A, then you got term two is B, then C, then D, and you just cycle them A, B, C, D, A, B, C, D. That's one way. You could do like a monthly cycle. So you could just have like week one, week two, week three, week four. So A, B, C, D. And then every 4 weeks you repeat it. You could even just have like a 2 week cycle, A, B, A, B. So ideally, you don't want to be doing a completely fresh lesson plan every week. If you can
Mm.
start cycling them, it's going to help you with your time management too. Because like as you might start a club and you got plenty of energy, you're in your early 20s, you're doing ninja parties, you haven't got a wife, girlfriend, kids, but hit the 30s, you're probably going to have a kid, a wife. Hit the 40s, you're going to have a mortgage. Hit the 50s, you might hit divorce, you might have a second wife. So, so I think yeah, definitely a cycled curriculum.
Yeah, that's good.
What do you reckon, Ken?
Yeah, no, yeah, like essentially, that's how we do it, twins. Like, if you got a kid that comes in, they're not going to learn the same thing every single term. Like it always changes up. So that's where the cycles come in. And I guess for us and instructors, where we're training, we're adding things into our syllabus, which keeps it fresh. And I think also you got to keep it fresh for the coaches too, because sometimes the coaches get bored teaching the same stuff. And if your
Mm.
coach gets bored, then that means the kids are going to get bored. So then your classes aren't going to be fresh and exciting. So that's why it's good for the coach to train. If they're watching fights, they're seeing trends. Like, hang on, we're seeing this kick get done in the last three big fights. Maybe we need to start training it. You saw the last one, the last UFC. There was a spinning heel kick knockout. You see that one?
Mm.
I saw it, that
Um,
was good.
yeah, King Green or whatever his name was got knocked out by that Brazilian guy, one of those fight nerd guys. A lot of old school stuff's coming back. We got turning sidekicks are coming back, spinning back fists. If you see those trends, and I think that's pretty much the key to keeping it fresh and exciting.
Yeah.
Well, let's move to question two. Oh, we from the Facebook from Zuckerberg AI. Okay, so we got student retention. So what do you do when students start to lose interest or plateau? How do you keep them motivated and coming back for more? So let's start. Tonks, you can what are your thoughts?
Yeah, kids these days are not like I'm probably the generation between you. Yeah, I'm the older generation, and you guys are the young bucks. You know what I mean? Getting married, having kids,
Not anymore,
and
mate. No, I don't feel like a young buck.
uh, but we find I find these days with the kids that the attention span is, as we say, quite limited. You know what I mean? In the old days when we grew up, you did your kata up and down the hall for hours and hours, and you're like, it was boring, but you knew it had, it's what it is. But like the freshness of keeping the retention of the kids these days, I find that if we get families and if one goes, they all go. If we have just the individual, you've been there before, oh wow, I just signed up six guys from two families, and then one goes, I don't want to do it anymore, and then all six leave. You know what I mean? So they like doing things in groups. So we do a lot of stuff where our hierarchy will look after our hierarchy. Like if there's a new guy standing at the door, I always explain to the guys, hey, today you're standing at the front door. Do you know what I mean? In 6 months' time, you'll be looking at the front door. There'll be a new guy standing here, and you'll remember that day when you came into the club. So I really push the welcome everyone. Every time there's a new kid in the class, all my kids walk up and introduce themselves. Do you know what I mean? One, because I'm very bad with names. I mean, I could not remember your two. No, I'm joking. No, I'm very bad with names. So I always go, hey. So I've got one guy in my gym, my assistant, Adrian. He's really good. He remembers everyone's names. He always shakes their hands. How you guys going? Um, if the class starts getting stale and things like that, we do a big twist. We'll throw something in like, okay, next week it's all weapons. Do you know what I mean? Weapons, like, and chuck something in there. Or next week, bring your boxing gloves. I don't do boxing. Bring your boxing gloves in. Because in jiu-jitsu, it's everything for us. You know, Japanese jiu-jitsu, everything. There's grappling, boxing, kickboxing, karate, weapons. So we've got a lot of variety. But I'm a big believer in basics. Like you need a foundation at the start to get a good base. And then the middle, I try to tell the kids to become their own person. You know what I mean? So, because everyone's got different abilities, you know what I mean? Thought levels and things like that. But to keep them in the club, I think the variety, like you're saying, like, you know, rotating the syllabus as much as you can, not always doing grading stuff. I think there's a place in every class for grading. You've got to have grading stuff in every class, just so the kids know that they're progressing, so they can, like we do, we stick with that stamp system. But yeah, the retention, it really comes down. Also, I think a little bit with the parents, like get out there, introduce yourself to mum and dad or whoever the carer is and just say, hey, how's your kid enjoying it? You know what I mean? Oh, they've got their uniform now. It's like a tattoo. They're a little bit tougher now. They've got their uniform. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, things like that. That's what we sort of do. We don't get them to buy anything when they first start up. We want the kid to come out and say, hey, when do I get my uniform? Ah, cool. He wants to do it, mum. Let's buy him a uniform. Oh, he got punched in the face. Okay, let's get him a mouth guard. You know what I mean? And then just check in with the parents every now and then and just walk around, have a good chat with them and see if they're still happy. Not every parent's happy. You can't please. I wish I could please everybody, but you know, there's parents out there that aren't always happy with what you do. Yeah.
You would have seen a lot of parents come through the door. Like I don't know if with me, I've been on front desk, and I honestly, if I can kind of tell if they're going to stay on just from the first 10 seconds they walk in. Like, have you
Yep.
found that, Tonks? Got that like kind of sixth sense?
The first question I know when the parent or the kid is not going to stay is, how long does it take to get a black belt? That's usually usually when I know the kid's there just for one thing and one thing only, and that's to tell his mates that he's got a black belt. You know what I mean? So our motto in our gym, if you ask any one of my students, is what does your belt do? And they all say, hold your pants up, sensei. That's the answer you'll hear from every single one of my kids. I go, am I any better than you? No, sensei. Do you know what I mean? Are you any better than me? No. It's just to define the level of martial arts you're at. And we find that with the kids. The kids don't care about the rank in there now. They're not like, oh, I have to get my belt. You know what I mean? It's when you get your belt, you deserve it and you wear it. You know what I mean? So yeah, so we do things like that too. Yeah, but you're right. There's some people walk in the door and you're like, yeah, he's going to be here for 2 weeks. You know what I mean? Max. You know what I mean? Or that kid's like, I get a lot of parents, you probably have the same parents come in. Oh, when I was young, I used to do this, you know, and I want my kid to do that. That's fine. Then, you know, the parent should be trained, not the child. You know what I mean? So I talk to the kids, not the parents. I try to talk like I say, hey, great to meet you, Dad. Hey, what's your name, buddy? Oh, g'day, little Johnny. What are you doing? What do you want to learn? I don't know. And try and see where I'm going to get with the child because he's the one I'm initially going to be teaching, not the actual parent. Yeah, I find
Ken,
that.
what are your thoughts?
It's a massive topic, retention. I think straight off the bat, the best way to retain students is to teach great classes. So
Yeah.
that's where the coach has to be training themselves, has to be researching, and actually try your best to teach the best classes possible. I know some days you're tired, like me. I got gastro. You know, like I was teaching Parkville on Tuesday. My guts were killing me.
Yeah, the
Like,
gastro stop. Yeah, one tablet, you're all
mate,
good.
Yeah.
the problem with
Yeah. Get
gastro
the tablet.
stop is that it stops everything, and your guts just kill. You just gotta. I almost want to get rid of that release valve or something. Just let it go. It's just bad. It just stays in there. You know what I mean, Tonks?
I hear it's the worst thing to get. It's the
It's
worst
like
thing to
your
get.
guts are just killing you. Like,
Man, I might punch you in the gut next time I see ya.
mate. But yeah, I think just teaching great classes. So
Yeah.
something that me and Lance, I think we've talked about on the potty before, is after every single shift of classes that we do, we always put this little thing on our Slack, which is it's like a group chat sort of software thing. Victories and then things that challenged us during the shift. So you talk about the things that went well. So for me on Tuesday, I had really good numbers on the mats. I was really happy with that. The vibe was really good. challenge for me was I was sick as a dog. So that actually prompted me to actually go, okay, I actually won't teach on Wednesday and I won't teach the Thursday sessions because I'm not in the right state. Like I could barely stand up. I was literally sitting down because I was like, and it's like, if you're like that, it's better to get someone else to teach.
You could have done defense against a chair, like sitting on a chair or something, or because you
I
could
don't
be
know,
sick
funny.
and you could be sick and have to defend yourself. You never
No
know.
excuses, Ken. You're coaching tonight, mate. I'm putting you on. You're on shift, mate.
Yeah.
You're on the big mat today.
Well,
Oh,
if this was like 10 years ago, I'll be all about it. Like, remember, like I literally had surgery on my mouth. I had 4 wisdom teeth out. I had the surgery in the morning. I was out cold. And then I woke up at 12 o'clock, straight out of the hospital, straight onto the mats. My mouth was like numb. I had blood
yep.
dripping down my mouth. I was still teaching, bro.
All right, I do remember. Yeah, you were
Crazy.
still teaching.
I was still teaching.
I think we've all done that. You know what I mean? We've all been like when you probably like you're lucky you guys have got together. Like when I first started, I was on my own, and I never took a day off. And I remember taking one day off. It was probably back in probably 2018. I took it. I just said I'm having a day off. My phone went to meltdown. Like it was like the world had ended. Because I'd never been. I don't get sick. Like I don't get sick, you know. And for me to be out of commission, it was like really unusual for everyone. And like I couldn't explain it. You know what I mean? So yeah, but yeah, you don't want to be sick training. No, you stay away from me.
Yeah, 100%.
Maybe that's like a trait of a good martial art coach. Like you just can't get sick. Like it's
Yeah,
not
don't
like
get
a
sick.
government job. You can take your 2 weeks of
Mm.
sick leave every year. You know, it ain't happening.
Well, that's the
I think
biggest
as a
problem
martial
with it.
arts coach, like, if we are sick, obviously you take your sick leave, but you don't want a coach that's always taking sick leave and there's something wrong there
Yeah,
because for us, it's not like you can do your work from home. Like, we need the guys
yeah,
on the mats teaching, and they're the right
100%.
cunts.
Yeah, big time. You know, what I mean, you got to be on the mats. So get better and get on the mats tonight, 5 o'clock. See you there.
But
Mate, he's starting 3:45.
that's it. That's it. But if I go back to the question, so essentially, yeah. So obviously, teach great classes. Second
Yeah.
thing I'll be doing is you have to be asking these why are they losing interest.
Mm,
And it could be something simple that maybe the coach changed. Maybe the coach was sick for a week, and then like a change, like a change of coach. I know for our guys, upstairs, downstairs can be a bit different. There's some kids they love training upstairs, but then
yep.
maybe like they've gone from our kinder group and they've gone into the prep group, and now they got to go, downstairs, all that sort of stuff. So just changing little things like that. Um,
Yep.
Finding out that reason. I think it's probably too easy for someone to get that email from the parent, go, Johnny, he's losing interest. Here's my 30 days notice, we're quitting. I think someone
Yeah.
that just accepts that is not doing their job. It's too lazy. You got to give them a call, at least send an email, like, why? And then usually
100%.
you could
Yep.
figure something out. But there are sometimes, like, if they picked up 3 sports, cricket, soccer, and footy, like there's no time. But yeah, I
Mm,
think just asking that question why and just try and problem solve that. Third thing I would say is at Twins, what we do really well is we have different programs. So we are super structured. We've literally got tiny ninjas, which is your 4-year-old kinder, little ninjas prep, dragons grade ones, and then junior program, which is split into 3 different programs, is grade twos and up: beginner, intermediate, and advanced juniors. And then we got black belt class, we got adult classes. So I think having that new challenge. So if you got a kid training for a year, usually sometimes, like, if you look at the stats for a lot of clubs, they usually retain a kid for a year. That's usually average,
mm,
Lance. Usually about 1 year, 1.5 years.
Yep.
If they're constantly changing program after a year, that's going to be a big incentive for them to stay. They might be getting tired of, like, one class. Brand new year rolls around, they're in a new class. It goes for a little bit longer. Teacher might be different. They got different set of games, different set of equipment. So that's something
mm.
big for us for retention. So if there's any coaches out there, you want to, obviously, if you got a small club, it's hard to do, but if you got a big club, you can really break it down like that. And then also something that Lance has been a big influence for us is, um, yes, we have our different programs, but then we have extra programs too. So we've got karate gymnastics we just started. We got sparring classes every day. You got the jiu-jitsu for kids program. We're thinking about potentially putting in a weapons class, yeah, Lance?
Why not?
100%, yeah, 100%.
So yeah, like sometimes we felt like if someone is losing interest, why not try the sparring class? If they're losing interest, let's try the karate gym class. You know, just
Yeah.
having that option, especially if you're the one answering the emails, doing the calls. If you have another option in your toolkit, and the parents are like, oh yeah, that sounds good. We'll try them in that. And then essentially an extra one I'm talking a lot, but yeah, like I think for us a big one having that black belt class, because you usually find
Yeah.
once kids or students get that black belt, they're gone. But it's almost like they've reached the top of one mountain and then there's another mountain to climb. And for us, that's that black belt class. And for me, that's my favorite class to teach. And that's been a game changer for us at Twins, and right, Lance?
Yeah, you look at that black belt class. It's funny, Tonks. Like every kid in that class is like over 6 foot. It's freaking nuts. Like they're tall.
Wow.
Even though apparently the kids these days are on the screens on the iPads. Our black belt class are all over 6 foot. So there's something
Uh,
going on in the Williamstown water.
I love it.
Or
Yeah.
maybe the hot wings that pump that extra steroid in chicken.
It's the KFC chicken. Yep. 100%.
Boom. We'll do one more
Yep.
question for this episode.
Yep.
I want to skip number 3 because I reckon we've already done that. Let's do teaching multiple ages. So how do you adapt your teaching style to work with students of different ages and skill levels in the same class? Foy, oi. So Tonks, do you want to start that one?
Yeah, we've got, because we only run really two age groups. We have a primary school age group, so that's our junior program, and then our student senior program is together from year 7 up. Yeah, so our club's sized, but it's not crazy big. So what's it called? Yeah, I think when we have a lot of kids come to us, and we'll have a 13-year-old and then we'll have a 13-year-old. Do you know what I mean? And they're at that age where they're going to year 7 and they're like might be too big for the kids, but not big enough for the adults. You know what I mean? So a lot of our stuff is structured on size and weight, not on so much age. So we try and I got one kid who's in our gym, and he looks like a 9-year-old, but he's 16. So he's in our senior program, and he's going against 13-year-olds, and he's actually progressing better in his style because he's not competing with a 16-year-old who's like my size. You know what I mean? And then we've got like we did a thing last night with Tom from the Mint. He brought down half of his club, we bring our club together, and we meshed them together. And it was the best night we ever had. So that was another, I was going to put that in the last question about variety. Sometimes interacting with other clubs is good too, like to have other clubs come in and do like little challenge nights. But we've already gone through that, but that's another thing. But but to keep I pretty much go with the juniors. I got small, mediums. Like I call them the little boogers, the big boogers, and the snots. You know what I mean? So you got your ninjas and like, hey, little boogers over there. And again, just talking to the kids and making them smile. I'm a little booger. Off they go. Yeah, and you say get that warm, fuzzy feeling inside. If you can make the kid smile every single time he comes to training, he loves it. You know what I mean? And things like that, And so we put small group together, get them to work, then a medium group together, and a large, similar like your preps or your 4-year-olds, 5-year-olds, and 6-year-olds. And like, oh, but I want to go in that group. Well, you got to get a little bit bigger and a little bit more technique behind you. Cool. Kid starts working harder, and we see some of those kids really work hard to try and get that next, like as you were saying, can you get into the black belt class? And that same with our sparring class. You can't just come to our gym and join our sparring class. You know what I mean? You've got to have done, like Lorenzo's specific about. I want 6 months solid training to get into we do sparring every night, but to get into the contact sparring in the ring, where you're gonna do 3 minutes, and if you get knocked down, it's not let's stop and put a band-aid on it, get up, wipe your face, go straight back into it. You got to work your way up to it. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's probably a little bit different. I'd love to have juniors, like we used to have peewees, juniors, teens, seniors, advanced. We used to have very similar. But then because we've got the multiple styles now, we've got 6 styles, and we've got like 4 hours to try and get, that many hours into the night, it's a little bit hard. So we've got to pack it into every class. Instead of having the class, we break the class into those 3 sections, like if you guys are saying you've got a big club, my club might be a medium club. I can't offer 3 different classes in one style per night. So we just break into 3 different areas. So Small kids over there, little boogers. You know what I mean? Little, the medium boogers and the snots at the other end. You know what I mean? It's real fun. They like it. You know what I mean? I think that's sort of how we do it. Yeah. Same with our adults as well. Size for size, not age for age or anything like that, and level for level too. Yeah.
Interesting. I like how you kind of keep your personality in there too, because
Have
I
to.
haven't heard that terminology, boogers,
Yeah.
used
I
by a
know.
martial art coach. So it's good. It's good. With us, we obviously we're lucky. We've got obviously upstairs, downstairs. We can split all the groups up, but obviously once they get into our junior program, it's grade two and up. So
Yep.
um, you will have that difference. Especially you got a 15-year-old kid. Maybe he's hit puberty. He's huge. He's probably bigger than me. Then you got a little
Yes.
Asian boy like me and Ken. Like we were the smallest kids in class for many
Yeah.
years. So a lot of the times we'll use something called the challenge point theory.
Yep.
So essentially, you just verse someone who's the same size as you. That's the first thing. You just pick a partner same size. Now, if you're winning too much, we give you a different partner. If you're losing too much, we give you a different partner.
Yep.
The only issue is if you're always winning and no one in the room can actually beat you, we put a constraint on them. So you've probably done these, Tongs. Ken's really good. So maybe the game it might be pancake. So you're on top, you're always winning, and then we'll say, okay, you can only play one up,
Yep.
or we might say you got to play eyes closed. But some kids are huge, like they're 6'5". Some of these 13-year-olds. So sometimes you have to go 2v1.
Oh.
We've even had to do a 3v1 as well.
Yeah.
So there's always a way. There's always a way.
Yeah. There is. There's definitely a way.
Something
And then
I'm
sometimes we got kids like they're like 15, 16. They're still in the primary school class. That's unbelievable. Yeah, Ken.
yeah, they only go teens, but something that I really like to do is it doesn't matter who wins the drill, both
Yep.
people have to do burpees. So that
Yep.
really incentivizes the person that's winning. If they're a lot bigger and stronger and they're higher ranked, they're going to go, hang on here, I'm winning a lot, and it's a 3 minute round. It's every time I win, it's 10 burpees. I could be doing a lot of burpees. So they actually figure out it's better to actually help my partner and win a little bit slower. You know what I
Yep.
mean? Because like in a 3 minute round, you could win 10 times. You don't want to do 100 burpees.
We've got a game we call head and gut, which we do for our striking. Yeah. So it doesn't matter what level you are. You go in, you touch your gloves, and you start sparring. If I hit you in the stomach, you got to drop down to a sit up. If I hit you in the head, you got to drop down to a push up. If I kick you in the leg, you got to do 2 squats. But you got to leave the group and go join the line and do your punishments in the line. If you win 3 fights in a row, what's it called? The winner has to sacrifice himself. Do you know what I mean? Because like we just sort of go, hey man, you've won 3 fights. We know you're good. So we might throw the smallest kid out there. We've got a little kid. He's probably up to like the middle of our legs. He's the tiniest kid, and he's the cutest kid. He's like, is this going to hurt? I go, yes, it's going to hurt. Am I going to get hit? Yes, you're going to get hit. And he'll run out there, and all of a sudden he'll go whack, and he'll hit a kid, and he's like, and his eyes all light up. You know what I mean about that? Getting that. The other guy will fall on the ground. And they've got some really good like higher ranks that they're going to win everything, and they'll just take a kick or take a punch. They're over there. I can't believe I've got to do squats, and they'll make a big hoo-ha, and the other kid's like, oh my God, I just won one. You know what I mean? And that again puts it up there. But there's a lot of good things out there, like you're saying about the heights and sizes and all that sort of stuff. And of course we've all got that no bully process in our gyms. Like we don't tolerate that's left at the front door. And that's why we do a trial. We do a trial with our gym, and we just say to the guys, hey, this is a job interview. You know what I mean? What's it called? You get a trial, see if you're going to fit into our program, not us fit towards you. We want to try and make them join our program and help their parents, help them, especially if they've got problems at home. And we find that a lot
Man,
now.
it's cool how you're kind of teaching the kids. Sometimes you got to take a loss. Like it's not the end of
Yeah.
the world. But we had
Yes.
one of our main coaches, Jake. He was explaining to a kid because he didn't give him his sparring stripe. Even though this kid, he was beating everyone up. Like to get the green stripe, you have to be competitive versus someone same size, same rank. But the second condition, you have to be a good training partner.
Yep.
So he's explaining to this kid, mate, you just beat everyone up. You're not a good training partner. And
Yeah.
then the student's like, I don't understand, coach. I'm showing how good I am at sparring. I should get the stripe. And Jake's like, don't work like that, mate.
Especially with Jake.
The kid couldn't understand it. He couldn't understand it.
Yeah.
Especially with Jake, I feel like he's like the perfect example of that because Jake, for the people that don't know him, he's like one of our gun coaches. He's like 6'6",
Mm.
strong as a bull. Like he was standing, he would put both me and Lance away quite easily. Just you just can't
Has
reach him.
done it. He has.
Yeah.
Bashed
But
me.
like, yeah, but like in class, like he's not putting people to the sword. He could,
Yeah.
he could easily put everyone to the sword because he's just got the long. He's almost like a John Jones. He's like a Williamstown
Oh,
John
wow.
Jones. You
Yeah.
just can't touch him.
We
But
got
he's
lucky he
nice.
stumbled into martial arts and didn't go to the local footy or basketball team, to be honest.
100%.
Maybe he got lost.
But it does teach character, doesn't it? Like if you've got a guy like when it comes to like striking, there's a lot of ego in there. Even with grappling, there's a lot of ego that plays a part in it. And if you can teach that guy to be that humble sort of student where everyone knows what he's capable of doing, and you'll see him moving around. Yeah, you got your 6 foot guy moving around with the guy. It's first day in his sparring class, and you can see he's throwing him at 60%, and he's leaving openings, and the guy's hitting him, and things like that. That's a student you want for life. You know what I mean? I'm a big believer in that. Those students you'll have forever. You know what I mean? They walk away, they tap the glove, they lose, they jump out of the ring. Doesn't bother them. You know what I mean? But you do have those guys that are just kamikaze, haven't you? And they're just they're just running in and they first day on the job, and this kid's like, "What the hell is hitting me?" Oh, that's that's little Johnny again. You'll get used to him. That's
Awesome. Let's
awesome.
wrap it up, guys.
Yeah.
So good to get a bit of a Q&A in. We'll get a part 2 as well.
Yep.
So hopefully everyone listening, watching, you enjoyed that. Hit us up on our Instagram and we'll see you on the next one.